Morning folks. Now we are in lockdown 3, I think. I'm not sure if we're in lockdown 3, it could be lockdown 4, 5, 6. We've had that many lockdowns, I'm not sure what lockdown we're in. We're starting at a place called Linby. Now the first walk I did, the Trails of Robin Hood and the Lost Knickers. That started in Linby as well. As you can guess, Robin Hood has a connection to this local area. And that's why we're going to pop and see a few more of his places today. So at the moment we are in Linby by the Linby Trail, and we're going to head up to the Robin Hood's Chair and the Robin Hood's Caves and Robin Hood Woods. And then we're going to head up to Newstead Abbey, where an old poet used to live. So let's get cracking. This is the first weekend after lockdown again. Sorry for the sun glaring in the background. It is a winter's morning still, so well, I can only apologise for the sun. I shall block it with my big fat head. For those of you that are back in lockdown and having to work from home, hopefully you're having as good a week as you possibly can. Let me move this a bit lower. So today we are heading on it's about 9-mile walk. We're headed along the Linby Trail at the moment, which I'll talk about that in a moment. We're going to pass Newstead Village, then on to Robin Hood's Woods, I believe it's called, and there's a Robin Hood's Cave and a Robin Hood's Chair. After that we're going to head through an area known as one of the top golf courses in the country. Then we're heading over towards, I believe it's called Newstead Estate, and within that is Newstead Abbey. We'll come across some of the buildings there where an old poet used to live, and that poet being Lord Byron. Then from there we're going to head down towards Papplewick along the Robin Hood's Way, and then eventually we shall get back to Linby. Nice easy one today. Problem being is that because we're having to walk quite local at the moment, it makes it a bit of a difficulty of where I can go, because I've actually done quite a lot of routes in this local area. So, but I've managed to find a few others lined up that we can do over the next few weeks. It's a busy one. There are lots of people out. First week as back in COVID. It's a nice bright day. We're on a local walk and there's tons of people out. Hopefully in a couple of miles we'll be heading off the trail into some areas that's not really footpaths, so to speak, more tracks, and hopefully that'll keep us away from the public, because what's the worst thing to do is keep talking to the camera and everyone's thinking, who's he talking to, what's he doing? So we're on the Linby Trail. At the moment I can't show my face, which may be a blessing to some of you, but due to the point, as you can see my shadow on the right hand side, the sun is directly behind us and it is glaring. So if I show my face, so you can see by showing my face, you got the sun glaring behind my head. I could possibly get rid of it like that, but trying to walk constantly like that, just to shadow the sun, might be a bit difficult. So I'm afraid you're going to have to see the landscape, where on the other hand that's probably a lot better than my face. This used to be an old railway line, and there are remnants of its past as we walk along the trail. On the right we have a slight embankment, so obviously where the stone has been cut through to make the trail. Here we've got an old railway sleeper, and I believe there's some actual tracks further up the trail as well. Now I apologise that you're going to be able to see my shadow because the sun is directly behind me at the moment. I'll try and keep it as best as I can. There used to be 3 railway lines that actually cut across the area of Linby. So there was the Midland Railway, Great Northern Line and the Great Central Line. The Midland Line opened first and closed in 1964. It ran from Nottingham to Workshop via Mansfield. The line reopened in 1999 and still runs today on the same line. although now called the Robin Hood line. The line moves through the ancient Sherwood Forest from Nottingham, passing Linby to Worksop. The Great Northern Line opened second. The line ran until 1931 for passengers until 1968 for freight. The Great Central Line later became the LNER line, or the London and North Eastern Railway. This was the last ever line built from the north of England to London, opening in 1899 and closing in September 1966. Now the Linby Trail is part of the National Cycle Network. Route 6 full route extends from London to Freckeld in Cumbria, a distance of 406 miles. Well, apart from the occasional voice, it's so peaceful today. There's no wind whatsoever. We are in a bit of a gully. Can't hear any road traffic, which makes it better as well. So hopefully it's going to be a great day. Holding the camera at this angle because the glaring on the camera, so I'm holding it on the slight funny angle. But what I'd like to say is thank you for everybody that's subscribed so far. It's really appreciated, especially if you're adding comments on a weekly basis or anything else, or on all my videos. That's great as well. Do like answering the comments, and sometimes I'm actually finding out a few things from people when they're adding comments. Maybe something guys said that isn't correct, although I do research all my videos quite a lot, but occasionally I'm going to say something that's maybe slightly different on the internet to what actual other people might know. So hopefully once lockdown is, this one's over, and we can again get out a bit more further afield and be able to get out and do some more wild camping. So we're just passing over this bridge. Now, as you can see, the railings are actually made of cast iron, so it shows how old a bridge it would be. So I would say between 1750 and 1830. And also you can actually see on the floor the iron girders that made up the supports of the bridge. So as we approach the village of Newstead, we have Freckland Wood on our right hand side. Now this area, the woodland, is not dense as it used to be, as we are walking the heart of Sherwood Forest at the moment. Not that you would really realise it. There are trees about, but obviously if we look to our left, it's a bit more open over there. That's because we're actually coming in to Newstead Village. Now Newstead Village was formerly known as Newstead Colliery Village. The colliery ran from 1874 to 1987. Although remains of the colliery village still remain, development in the area has created a business park and a nature reserve. The colliery, towards the end of its working days, was like a working museum where the general public could visit the area and learn about the daily life of a miner. I'm not entirely sure what this wall resembles or represents. I don't know, maybe it's part of the mining pit. Maybe the pit once stood exactly on this spot. You can just hear the train in the background, which is on the Robin Hood line. But we're heading away from Newstead now, and we're heading towards, I believe it's called, well, originally it was called the Robin Hood Woods, but now it's been changed to Kirkby Forest. Now, once we get there, which is not too far, near Kirkby and Ashfield, there's a couple of attractions. One being Robin Hood's Cave, another called Robin Hood's Chair. And once we arrive, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Well, I did say we were heading towards Robin Hood's Chair. I'm guessing, as Robin Hood's back from possibly the 17th century, that they didn't have plastic patio chairs then, so I'm guessing this isn't Robin Hood's Chair, but it does look like a bit of fly tipping. So another lovely person who likes to ruin the landscape. Well, I'm guessing not many trains went up here. I was just thinking earlier, I haven't seen enough gorse bush this year. I don't like getting tangled up in gorse bush. It reminds me of another national path I walked that I should be putting out later on this year. Interesting place to put a pillar box. And as you can see in the distance next to the white building is the mining turning wheel, called a winding wheel. I'm not sure where they got their snow from. It must have been a massive snowman. Looking across the landscape, there's no remains of snow anyway. So we've just arrived at the village of Annesley. Now if you remember, a couple of weeks ago I did a walk of Annesley Hall. So this is the village that connects to Annesley Hall. And they've all got a limestone wash on them, although painted in numerous colours now, as we can see. So this is Mosley, or Annesley and Feely, but it's also called Mosley. There's a romance in the air. These two abbeys, Larry. So looking across the landscape, we are at Kirkby Forest, or it used to be called Robin Hood Hills. Now, you can see over there is some hills. The high point at the mast over there is 195 metres above sea level. So we're just walking up this track. Now, just can see up there's a boundary wall. This is where the last buildings are of, I believe it's Annesley. If we continued up this track, just at the top of where the path is a road. Directly across this road is a little hill called Shoulder of Mutton Hill. So if anybody wants to try and check this out for yourself, or even want to start the walk from this point, you can do. And Shoulder of Mutton Hill, if you follow that down, takes you into Kirkby and Ashfield, another old mining town. But as we walk up here, you can just see that the path is a bit flat around here, but it doesn't really lead to anywhere, or so you would think. But beyond here, just in this area where the bracken is the entrance to Robin Hood's Cave. Sadly, it's been filled in, and there's not actually much trace of it on maps today. I found a map from 1837, and it does actually show Robin Hood's Cave on there, but I've pinpointed the position and worked out with the grid reference it was filled in the turn of the last century. So this is Robin Hood's Cave. So now we're going to head down to Kirkby Forest, and then we're going to head up towards Robin Hood's Chair, and then we're going up to a plantation with an interesting name. It's a gorgeous day today, hardly any wind, which means I can hear the bird crying, or bird calling. Hopefully you can hear it too. I mean, it's surprising actually, because the last few days has been like -3, -4 degrees, and today, I mean, I've already stripped one layer down, and I'm thinking of stripping another layer down at the minute. Of the great Robin Hood, and was he myth or a legend? I don't know, but to me he's a story that's there's a lot of locations in Nottingham that actually point to him, or Nottinghamshire. I'm guessing Robin used to hang around here a bit, especially as we've got Robin Hood's Cave and we've got Robin Hood's Chair, so he must have hung around here somewhat if the hills are named after him. So once we've found Robin's Chair, the next place we're going to is across the golf course, Notts Club Golf Course, and then which is also, I believe, called Hollingwell. And the reason why, because there's a well, a holy well, Hollingwell. So the couple I met next to Robin Hood's Cave, hello, and welcome to the channel. As you did say, you may take a look at the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and because there's plenty more walks in Nottinghamshire, especially with COVID continuing. I'll be doing more local walks at the moment until I can get back out into the national parks, but there's plenty of places I've got listed to see in the county. So again, I logged in the coordinates of where the Robin Hood's Chair was, and we are looking at it basically. So this little bit of outcrop, looks like a lot of clay with a little bit of sandstone mixed into there, because the chair was an advantage point for Robin to be able to see the clergyman walking with the king's gold. And they would walk along this track or this route from Nottingham Castle up to Clipston, where King John's palace was. Basically, the clergyman would have had the money, the taxes. Robin would rob them, as he says. Rob from the rich, give to the poor. So he would have perched, I'm guessing, at the top of this hill at Robin Hood's chair. So the next place we're heading to is across the golf course. And we can see this is the golf course in front of me. Obviously, due to COVID, nobody's allowed to play golf at the moment. So we're going to be able to wander across without getting hit by a golf ball. And we're going to head down towards two places now. One is the source of the River Leen, and the next is the well I mentioned earlier called Hollin Well, or Holy Well. So the golf course we're by at the moment is called Knox Golf Club, and it is actually recommended to be one of the top 50 golf courses in England. I'm guessing the membership fees are quite expensive, although how good I am at golf, well, I have a perfect swing. I can perfectly swing it into the forest and the woodlands every time. Now, on the other side, there's a place called Edwalton in Nottinghamshire. I actually have the course record. I went around the course in one. How did I do that, you think? Well, I teed off on the first hole and it landed in the 18th hole. It shows how poor a player I was, or how good a player was. As my professional opinion as a golf course walker, been across a few golf courses in my time, all across the country, as I've walked numerous footpaths, I would say that clubhouse looks quite nice. I'm not sure about greens. I mean, you see one green, you see them all. I don't really see the greens that often because I spend all day looking for me ball in the woods. Anyway, let's head on to the source of the River Leen. So, just arrived at this little pond. Now, this actual little pond is a little bit more than a little pond. It's actually the source of the River Leen. The River Leen stretches 15 miles, starting here and heading through down towards Linby, and then heading onwards towards the River Trent. So this is a tributary of the River Trent. And it's quite funny that a source to a river, it's so still, there's nothing moving there at all. So that pond is the start point of the River Leen. As I say, the water is quite still, but if we look down here, you can see the opposite side of one of these tees is now running water. Here is the start of a river. Now, it's not a big river, but also the River Leen is known for where Robin met Little John. I think it's called John's Bridge near Linby. Before there was a bridge there was just a tree log that crossed the river. This is the point where Robin Hood and Little John met either side of the river, and they wanted to both cross it at the same time. So they fought with staffs until one fell in the river. Now, I'm guessing Little John being 3 foot taller than Robin Hood, odds are it was probably Little John that went, because probably Robin Hood took his legs away from him. But after that, they become firm friends. So on my left hand side, we have a plantation, and this plantation is called the Jones Slut Plantation. Now, I did try to do a bit of research to find out why it's called the Jones Slut Plantation. I couldn't really find out much about it. Well, I'm guessing it's something to do with Joan. She was a popular girl and she used to hang around in these woods. So hopefully you're enjoying this walk. We are heading down towards Newstead now. We've got quite a few interesting walks coming up around Nottinghamshire. So I'm going to a place in the next couple of weeks. It was a duke that was a bit of a recluse. Such a recluse, he didn't like anybody knowing that he was actually on his own abbey grounds. If you haven't joined me yet and subscribed, then please do, especially if you like hiking, backpacking, long distance walking, also some wild camping, and like to follow some routes for yourself as well as learning some tips and skills on the great outdoors, then please consider subscribing. The name Hollingwell is thought to be an abbreviation of Holy Well, named by the monks in Newstead Priory, now Newstead Abbey, as they stopped on their way to and from Kirkby. The name Hollingwell appeared for the first time on a map in 1836. It is not known who placed the stones around Hollingwell, but they've been present since 1900. We can now see that the course of the River Leen is getting a bit stronger now as it goes down this, and we're going to leave the river for the moment, and we'll pick up with it again once we get onto the Newstead estate at the upper lake. So the path I'm following at the moment is the same route the monks would have taken when they were heading between Kirkby and Newstead Abbey, as we've already passed the Holy Well or Hollingwell. We see a wall in front of us at the moment, and this is the boundary line for the Monk's Barn farm. I'm guessing that the monks looked after that farm. Probably it was the farm that produced the food for the abbey. Along here now, so this is the upper lake to the abbey. Now this actually is now the River Leen. In about 800 metres it's gone from a still pond to a trickle to a little bit of a waterfall, and now it's becoming a bit of a pond, a large pond, a very large pond. So if you're looking for a walk in the local area, about 8.5–9 miles in Nottinghamshire, then I would suggest this one. There's been a few places to see along the way, so from an old train line to mining, and then through the golf course where we've passed through the Robin Hood's Cave, the Robin Hood's Chair, and then through the Robin Hood Hill, then coming up to Holy Well, back on the track, past Monk's Barn farm and up along Upper Lake. Then we'll reach Newstead Abbey, following it through the gardens, and then we'll reach onto the Robin Hood's Way, which will take us back via Papplewick to Linby. And this is the perfect time to do it with the COVID going on, because golf courses are not happening at the moment, so they are empty. So perfect time to walk across the golf course when there's no balls flying near you. If you do want to follow this route for yourself, then there will be a link in the description, so if you just scroll down. Well, if you've got a big house, it's nice to have a nice view. So have this lake across from your house. There's a few people coming across here, so we're actually coming to the fort. So across the lake we have the fort, and on this side we have the old boathouse, which is a bit of a folly. The lake is entirely frozen. So the fort, which is in front of us, constructed in 1749 by the 5th Lord Byron, served as a vantage point for the miniature naval reenactments and cannons firing across the lake. On such occasions, the expanse of water became his mini Mediterranean Sea. Sir John Byron of Colwick, near Nottingham, was given Newstead Abbey by Henry VIII in 1540, where he started his conversion into a country home. He was succeeded by his son, Sir John Byron of Clayton Hall. Many additions were made to the original building. It then passed to John Byron, an MP and a royalist commander, who was created a baron in 1643. He died childless in France, and ownership transferred to his brother, Richard Byron. Byron's son, William, was a minor poet and was succeeded in 1695 by his son, William Byron, 4th Baron Byron. Early in the 18th century, the 4th Lord Byron landscaped the gardens extensively and amassed a hugely admired collection of artistic masterpieces. During the ownership of William, 5th Baron Byron, he became known as the Wicked Lord. The abbey suffered a downturn in fortunes. As a young man, William lavished money on the estate, building picturesque Gothic follies and staging glamorous mock naval battles on the lake, continuing to take out loans and pursue his pleasures of horse riding, gambling and going to the theatre. he found himself financially reliant on a scheme of marrying off his only surviving son and heir to a wealthy heiress. The plan fell apart when his heir eloped with his cousin Juliana Byron, daughter of William's brother John Byron. He stripped the abbey and estate of its artistic treasures, furniture and even trees, to quickly raise cash. Though he made thousands of pounds, it was not enough to pay back the loans he had been taking out since his 30s, and there was no hope of restoring the abbey to its former glory. William passed away at the age of 75, with the title and Newstead Abbey were then left to his great-nephew, George Gordon Byron, then aged 10, who became the 6th Baron Byron and later the famous and notorious poet. The young Lord Byron soon arrived at Newstead and was greatly impressed with the scale of the estate and contributed to Byron's extravagant taste and sense of his own importance. However, no less impressive was the scale of problems at Newstead, where the yearly income had fallen to just £800, and many repairs were needed. He and his mother soon moved to the nearby town of Southwell, and neither lived permanently at Newstead for any extended period. His view of the decayed Newstead became one of the romantic ruin, a metaphor for his family's fall. Through thy battlements, Newstead, the hollow winds whistle. Thou, the halls of my fathers, art gone to decay. The estate was leased to the 23-year-old Henry Edward Yelverton, 19th Baron Grey de Ruthven, from January 1803. The lease was for £50 a year for the abbey and park for 5 years, until Byron came of age. Byron stayed for some time in 1803 with Lord Grey before they fell out badly. In 1808, Lord Grey left at the end of his lease and Byron returned to live at Newstead and began extensive and expensive renovations. His works were mainly decorative, however, rather than structural, so the rain and damp obscured his changes within just a few years. Byron had a beloved Newfoundland dog named Boatswain, who died of rabies in 1808. Boatswain was buried in Newstead Abbey and had a monument larger than his master's. The inscription from Byron's poem, Epitaph to a Dog, has become one of the best known works. Byron was a leading figure of the Romantic period, first and foremost a poet. It is sad that his enormous body of works are now little read, and he is a celebrity better known by his relations of his Bohemian lifestyle. When the poet George Gordon, 6th Baron Byron, managed to sell the house and estate for £94,000 in 1818, he thought himself off well rid of it. Byron loved Newstead Abbey in a romantic way, but it cost him dear. So just a view from the rear of the gardens on the opposite side of the wall. I did climb over a bit of a fence, but don't tell anyone. So this is what the abbey looks from the rear, the country home. And in front of us in the middle we've got somebody's butt. I'm not sure if it's the poet Lord Byron. There's quite a few sheep there, all very furry, all ready for a haircut. Robin Hood's Way is 107 miles long, or 168 kilometres, and visiting the great houses and parks of the dukeries and forests, including Sherwood Forest, starting at Nottingham Castle and finishing in Edwinstone by St Mary's Church, where according to folklore, Robin Hood made Marian in the archway to the church. I hope to walk the entirety, full distance of this long distance path, the Robin Hood Way. Hi guys, so we're just about coming to the end of this one, so hopefully you've enjoyed it like always. Got quite a few walks planned in the local area. Some interesting buildings we're going to visit. Hopefully try and find a couple of abandoned buildings, and there's a couple of other places in the county that I hopefully want to visit as well. So with that saying, a like to this video would be great, and also feel free to make a comment. The more comments the better. So look after yourselves, keep safe, especially in these COVID times. I'll see you soon, so bye bye hikers.